Welcome to the Red Story. If you like it, like and subscribe to the channel. It's very inspiring. Story 1. In college, I woke up to the sound of my roommate's bed creaking. I sat up to see what was going on, and there I saw a woman lying on her back with her legs spread, and my roommate was very engaged in the moment. Like a good friend, I quickly laid back down and pretended to be asleep. Between gasps, she asked, "Is your roommate awake?" He replied, "Nah, he sleeps through anything." The next morning, I casually got up, turned on my PlayStation 2, and started playing a random game. The woman came over and sat next to me. "Good morning, John," she said. "Good morning, Sarah," I responded. "Did you sleep well last night?" she asked. "Yeah, I can sleep through anything," I replied, immediately realizing I had blown it. She began to slap my roommate while cursing at him, but he didn't care because he was too busy laughing. Story 2. I was a camp counselor. 2 girls in my group liked to make hot or not lists. One of them suggested that a male counselor was attractive, but the other girl said he wasn't because he was saying mean things about me behind my back. It hurt to overhear my campers discussing me that way, but I was glad they supported me. Story 3. One night, I overheard my mom trying to calm my dad down. He was in a really dark place, saying he wanted to end his life. My brother and I had been really difficult that day, and when he grounded us, we both told him that we hated him and wanted him to go away. He didn't do anything wrong, we were just being immature. I was pretending to sleep when I heard him come into our room sobbing deeply. He stumbled outside, and we could hear him telling my mom that all he ever wanted was to be a better dad than his own. I was only 11, but it destroyed me. I cried silently in my bed, feeling like a terrible person for what I had said. My brother slept through it all, but I still think about it often. I always message my dad to tell him I love him, hoping he's forgotten about that night, though I doubt he ever will. Story 4. I pretended to be asleep while my family discussed marrying me off to a girl who was 5 years older than me. I was only 15 at the time. She eventually got married to someone else, but her marriage ended in divorce, and she was treated horribly. I feel bad about it now, but at the time I was just a kid. The girl had just graduated, and her family wanted her to marry. They considered me as a possible match, but I outright rejected it because she was like a big sister to me. Unfortunately, she was married off to a man with serious issues who mistreated her. She eventually got out of that horrible situation, but it pains me that I couldn't do more to help her. Story 5. When I was 14, I slept over at a friend's house. All of us were on the floor in the living room. I was next to 2 of my friends, a guy and a girl, who started getting a bit too close. They didn't realize I was awake, so I had to listen to them for what felt like an eternity. She made some odd noises, and he started singing in a whisper while doing what he was doing. That was the last time I slept over at a friend's house. Story 6. I wasn't pretending to be asleep, but I was fading in and out of consciousness under anesthesia. I heard someone joke about poking my belly button. Someone else quickly responded, "That's not funny. Remember what happened last time." I'm not sure if I was dreaming or not, but it left me feeling both amused and anxious as I drifted off again. Story 7. On a class trip, I overheard one of the girls talking badly about me, saying I was a loser and too dumb to stand up for myself. She even said the only reason she didn't bully me out of school was that she needed me to help with her homework. But then my best friend stood up for me, telling her off and defending me. It hurt to hear the insults, but I'm grateful my friend had my back. Story 8. I wasn't pretending to be asleep, but my in-laws thought I was. They started talking about me, saying I was a terrible mom and didn't take care of my kids. They even suggested buying a cake for my child's birthday because I was too lazy to make one. I cried for 2 hours before they left to buy groceries. Later, I made the cake and dinner my child asked for, but I didn't tell my husband what they said until a week later because I didn't want to ruin the day for him or my child. Story 9. My roommate's girlfriend was staying over, and late one night I overheard her asking him for something intimate. It was really awkward to hear, especially since she was using another guy to try and convince my roommate. They ended up crying together, and I eventually fell asleep. They broke up about 6 months later. Story 10. I was staying over at a friend's house when my male cousin and his friend came into the loft where I was sleeping. They thought I was asleep, but I overheard his friend asking if he could touch me. My cousin eventually agreed, and his friend touched me while I pretended to stay asleep, terrified. I still hate that cousin to this day. Story 11. 4 years ago, after a night out in NYC with a friend, we decided to crash at her parents' Manhattan apartment. They lived outside of the city full-time, so we used it as a place to stay when we were in that part of the city. We knew her older brother might show up to sleep there that night. When we got home, he wasn't there, and I opted to sleep on the window seat in the living room instead of sharing a bed with my friend. I drifted off for a while, but I woke up when he came into the apartment and started talking on the phone. I pretended to be asleep since I didn't want to make small talk. Then I heard him say to the person on the phone, "Oh, I forgot, Jessica has this girl over. Yeah, she's cute. I'm pretty sure she's asleep. Yeah, definitely asleep. I could just go over there and get on top of her for sure." He continued to consider doing something terrible until he finally said, "Nah, I probably shouldn't." I forced myself to stay awake for as long as I could and left as soon as I could in the morning. When I told my friend what her brother had said, her response was, "Well, he's lonely." Story 12. My father used to work really late nights, coming home at midnight or later. I remember falling asleep on the couch, smelling my mom making fresh tortillas for his dinner. I closed my eyes because I heard the door open and wondered if I would be carried to bed. Instead, I heard him get washed up, and I heard him ask my mom if I had eaten yet. She told him I was waiting for him but not to wake me because it was a school night. I remember feeling sad, thinking I would be left alone and hungry. But then my dad woke me up with a tortilla in his hand, tore off a piece, fed it to me, and told me to come eat with him. My father passed away 2 years ago from colon cancer at the age of 52. What I would give to be 8 years old again, just waiting for him to come home. Story 13. I went to Vegas with coworkers and got connecting rooms. I came back pretty tired, laid down, and fell asleep. Shortly afterward, my coworker walked in and silently started drinking by the window. A bit later, my assistant manager walked in and started arguing with the coworker by the window. Apparently, they had been hooking up, and all of his insecurities were coming out. I was terrified because I felt like they were either about to start hitting each other or start doing something else. Story 14. We had a sleepover, and one of my best friends liked a girl from our group. Apparently, she liked him back, so it was arranged that I would sleep on the couch in the living room. They sat together in front of the fireplace, talking. I pretended to be asleep so my friend could make a move. I heard their entire 2-hour conversation before they started making out. I couldn't sleep as they were talking so much. It was really cringy, but I powered through. They kept checking to see if I was awake, which made it even more awkward. They're in a relationship now and are doing well together. Story 15. I had been lying in bed awake for a while, putting off getting up, when I overheard my roommate interrogating his girlfriend about an affair we were allegedly having. He sounded pretty unhinged, but she remained remarkably calm, while he pressed her to deny engaging in specific intimate acts with me. It was weird and unsettling. There was nothing going on, and I had no idea why he thought there was. We had gotten along just fine until then, and I was worried that my living situation was about to become a lot more tense. His girlfriend was gone by the time I got up, and life continued as if nothing happened. Eventually, I learned that my wonderful roommate, whom I had known for years, was really an abusive jerk who would grill his girlfriend about made-up accusations.